Obsidian Entertainment is a game development company that most people view pretty positively, with their very notable releases being Fallout New Vegas, Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic 2, and of course their latest 3D single-player RPG, The Outer Worlds. This is a game company that I've grown quite fond of over the years, and their big releases are always something that I personally look forward to. But with their upcoming release based upon the Pillars of Eternity lore, Avowed has got me somewhat worried, especially more so as now we actually have a concrete idea of how the game is going to look and play from their recent reveal. And if you're looking for my thoughts on what they served us, color me unimpressed, just to say the least. Now, there are a number of reasons why I'm personally disappointed at the lack of ambition or substantial growth in Obsidian's projects. But before we get into that, I think it's important that we set a little bit of time to understand their history and previous releases, to understand why I personally and why I think you guys should expect more from Obsidian. Now, Obsidian Entertainment aren't newcomers or even new to the RPG gaming space. They're actually quite some veterans. Obsidian was founded in 2003, way back in June, and even some of the founders that made up Obsidian came from Black Isle Studios, who were responsible for creating and developing Fallout 2. A definite gaming classic. If you haven't tried that game out, I would recommend. I haven't personally played it yet, but I did give it a shot and just haven't gotten around to wrapping it up. This is long before Bethesda went over and bought the title and bought the IP and turned it into the huge 3D single-player RPG mega house that we know as today, with multiple sequels coming afterwards, such as Fallout New Vegas, Fallout 3, Fallout 4, and the very controversial Fallout 76. Now, from their inception, Obsidian have released quite some big titles, and just to name a few, it's Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic 2, The Sith Lords, Alpha Protocol, which I'm actually planning to play. Expect a patient gamer review of that game at some point. I just need to get a really decent PC so I can really enjoy that game properly. Fallout New Vegas, a game which I've also completed and quite enjoyed it, even delved into some of the DLC. South Park, Stick of Truth, haven't played that yet. Will hop onto it, it's actually chilling. I've downloaded it. It was actually included in PS Plus, so we'll hop onto that at some point. Pillars of Eternity, grounded in their most notable flagship title and brand new IP, The Outer Worlds. And with the sequel on the horizon for this title, it excites me even more to what Obsidian has in store for this game and what they're going to be able to achieve. Now, I want to read you guys this quote just so you have a kind of an understanding of their philosophy and how Obsidian Entertainment thinks when they're making a game. This quote comes from Chris Avellone, founder of Obsidian Entertainment. He said, "We have to answer to players, no matter what. When you work for a publisher, you have to answer to both, and the two of them may not see eye to eye. But I'd rather the player pay me directly for something they want, and I'd rather talk with them throughout the process to make sure I'm delivering something they want as well." Now, clearly, as you can see, Obsidian Entertainment have a robust history. They've been making games for over 2 decades, and they're definitely not going to be stopping anytime soon. The sky seems to be the limit, but from what I've seen from their latest amount of footage, it seems that they've abruptly already reached their ceiling, which for me is quite perplexing. The success of The Outer Worlds is clearly what secured their acquisition to Microsoft Studios in 2018, not to be confused with The Outer Wilds. You'd actually be surprised how many people have been annoyed to realize that they've bought the wrong game. Now, in mass, the response to the title was actually quite positive. You head over to Metacritic and you just have discussions on the game, you will see that people were quite satisfied with the classic. Now, Fallout New Vegas is seen as an amazing game. Many were happy to see Obsidian go back to their 3D single-player RPG roots with this title. Despite that, there was actually quite a very vocal amount of people who were quite disappointed with the game. They expected perhaps more player choice, substantial ones at that, like perhaps they did in New Vegas. I've seen many Reddit posts talking about why The Outer Worlds is not for them, and people who've liked New Vegas may be disappointed with the title. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I liked The Outer Worlds, and I was willing to let some of the complaints these people raised about New Vegas slide. The circumstances when they were developing New Vegas were completely different. They were already working with a pre-established gaming that was created by Bethesda. So all they had to do and focus on was on the story, the factions, the player choice, the world, the lore. They could put all their time and attention into these things and only make slight improvements to the gameplay mechanics that people were already very familiar with and happy with, as Fallout 3 had come out pretty recently 2 years prior. Personally, I was satisfied with The Outer Worlds and thoroughly enjoyed the title myself. Now, I'll be absolutely honest with you, my first impressions of the game were actually quite bad. I played it back on the PlayStation 4 a few years ago, and the graphics, character models and animation let me down immediately. But as soon as I got more familiar with the game and the story started to grip its claws into me, I was able to appreciate the many things that the game had to offer. The Outer Worlds is a great game, but I think it's clear for all to see that it's a AA or mid-tier game. I understand that to be able to achieve the top levels in the gaming sphere as a lone studio is very, very difficult. So I more so looked past these flaws and recognized how good the foundations of a good RPG were executed. Obsidian still had it, and the future was definitely looking bright in my opinion. When I finished The Outer Worlds, I wanted more immediately, but unfortunately of course the DLC hadn't come out yet, so I had to wait. Since then they've released the DLC and have released Grounded and Pentiment. I haven't played those games, not because they're necessarily bad, but because they're not the titles that I play Obsidian games for. I play their games because I see them as one of the best upcoming RPG developers in the world, and I'm definitely looking forward to The Outer Worlds too. Now, let's get to the reason why I'm even making this video in the first place, their upcoming title, Avowed. I made a post on the Avowed subreddit a few days ago because I wanted to have a discussion on where Obsidian was going forward with their gameplay development, particularly focusing on their technical progress. At this point, I think Obsidian have perfected how to create an RPG with substantial player choice. It's their bread and butter, but to keep up with the new next-gen standards, I personally expect more from the game in terms of graphics, character models, animations and just overall polish. Tough love is something we show to people and organizations that we actually care about, because we know they have the potential to do better. Unfortunately, the subreddit did not share my sentiments. I was shut down left and right. Why do you care about graphics? Obsidian know what they're doing. Let them do their thing, bro. As long as the RPG mechanics are cool, bro, I couldn't give a damn about polish or graphics. Now I understand some of their perspectives. They're protecting a game company that they love. They would rather have them not become ambitious and stay doing what they're good at. Unfortunately, I personally can't accept that. Complacency is the biggest enemy of progress. Now, looking at the gameplay footage, there are clearly some improvements made to the polish and the overall combat. But compared to what was shown in the original trailer, the contrast in quality is still a little bit too high in my opinion. The change in the gameplay art style was definitely disappointing, but looking at what will be served in this game, none of it looks next gen to me if I'm being absolutely honest. Looking at the content we've been shown so far, if you were to tell me this game is going to be released on PS4 and Xbox One, I wouldn't be surprised at all. I'm like, okay, solid, this is a pretty cool cross-gen title. I'm gonna enjoy this. Now, of course, I'm just a guy who's making a YouTube video who really loves gaming. I don't know what's going on behind the scenes, whether perhaps Microsoft is being frugal with the budget, or the original plan in the first place was to keep Obsidian as a AA studio. All I know is that from what I've seen from this team, their potential is looking to be squandered. Now, I'm not saying I want a big open world title, absolutely not. I actually preferred when games were smaller, perhaps a hub world or even a linear title. It's better when the world is smaller and condensed so there can be more depth for us to enjoy as players. It's just that this time I'd like Obsidian to release a groundbreaking title that the entire gaming industry to enjoy. They can be the next Bethesda when they were actually still making good games, the next CD Projekt Red, the next Santa Monica Studios, whoever you see as the biggest and top guys in the gaming sphere. Because I know for sure that Obsidian are just getting started.